Hey guys, it's Kristen. So yeah, I guess I am this dramatic, and I'm fine with it. So today is a day for, I would say, a funeral, but also a recommitment for, and I thought, you know what, fitting. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna wear my wedding dress and, or what I got married in, and get myself all pretty and because why not, feel myself. So, and what's so crazy is I weigh less than I was when I got married. So that's very interesting. I don't know, just yeah. Yeah, and it was last minute. I didn't know I was getting married, so it was one of those things that it was, yeah. So anyways, yeah, a lot's happened. A lot's happened since I last had my last video. So I do. What is today? Okay, so today is the 17th. It is almost noon. It literally is 11:59 a.m. What a month it has been for maybe a lot of people, but also for me. I'm gonna say I always tell people for my videos, I'm not here to tell people what they should do, how they should do, or give the answers to believe in anything that I put out or make you believe it or anything like that. And also, you could take whatever, you don't have to take anything. My whole point of doing this is just my story. And maybe, and I honestly, I'm not going to say maybe, honestly, this is going to help a lot of people. It's going to help a lot of people maybe understand more about themselves because I've gone through so much of my life where I didn't have the right people or really, yeah, the right people or the support to get me in that direction. So it was more, I had to do that on my own. And I wanted to do these videos not only to figure out a lot more about myself, but to help other people who may be in the same situation I was, or right now, maybe same situation, but it just is same, maybe similar things that have happened in their childhood and teenage and moving forward, and to help maybe get that going a little bit. And yeah, just for anybody who wants to do the healing process and wants to better themselves and move forward, it's kind of what that is, but it's also it's like always going to be a process. It's not something that's you're not gonna not have to do. I do want to tell people when you go through bettering yourself and working on healing, you're gonna have to continue it. It's not you know it's a process that you just can't stop. So yeah, I don't even know where to start because there's so much. I had to take a break for a little bit because there was obvious things that I knew were going on within me that I had to check in with myself. And I'm going to explain a lot of this more. I'm just trying to see if there's any other things I want to say before this. So, yeah, that's what I did. I went in and did that. Still continuing to do that. But I want to read first what I wrote. I just lost my spot. So I want to read first what I had wrote down, and then I'm going to continue the conversation or what I'm going to talk about after, because it's going to go in with this. So, okay. So, and then when I read this and I say you, it's not meaning like it has to be you. You could relate to some of it, you may not. So don't take it as I'm saying this is for you. If you don't feel like it is, then you don't need to take it, whatever. Because I don't want to sit there and say I, I don't know. It's easier for me. Either way. Okay, so develop a strong sense of self and do what you want despite objections from family and friends. No one should tell you what to do, stand in your way, or control the terms of your life. Create your own rules regardless of what the culture around you thinks. It's important to connect with others and create intimate bonds. Don't be afraid of the highs and lows of life or to go to uncomfortable places. Push your limits as you explore what truly excites you. Depending on your environment and life experiences, you may or may not naturally follow these impulses. You might relate to the intense part of yourself, or it could feel impossible and scary to my handwriting sometimes. Do you ever think you are this powerful? Your greatest potentials. Oh wait, yeah, your greatest potential allies are whatever. Uh, prioritizing your own experience and only doing what makes you feel alive. Growing up, you may have feared being judged for your willfulness or in response to negative feedback. You might have felt inhibited. You could have felt you had to hide and repress yourself. It would be easy to give into these doubts. Instead, what did I write there? That's so funny. Instead, yeah, hide those voices, embrace your capacity to be incredibly present each moment. When you're immersed in something, no one is more focused or willing to go as deep. You can let yourself be driven by your passions. If something doesn't excite you, then you shouldn't do it. That means it that that means it's not for you. Following your hunger to see, feel, and experience is all key. Your power can be overwhelming for some people. What's natural for you can seem like too much for others. At times, even if you don't say a word, your dominance and strength are felt and understood. That's just your aura. It's possible the energy you bring acts like a catalyst, potentially provoking repressed fears or strong feelings in others. You may even have a hard time understanding and coping with your own energy. If you if you've been unable to express yourself or engage with your feelings, then you likely learn to lock your passions away. You might still be unaware of the force inside. It's important to have a healthy outlet for your strength, especially if you didn't get to show it when you were younger. In response, you might react by going to extremes, knowing no limits. Assuming the rules don't apply to you, you might push past the edge to the point of recklessness. You might find yourself overindulging and developing addictive habits around food, alcohol, or sex. Or you might worry that if you fully embrace this side of yourself, you will come off as too intense and aggressive. These traits can feel wrong, scary, and even dangerous. You fear that if you really come into your power, someone will be hurt by it, so you repress it. Bring anxiety and depression. becoming afraid to feel anything at all. You might appear to be passive, but that's because you are hiding everything. Others might never guess you have such vast current of energy just below the surface. If this is true, you might cope by acting controlling and obsessive, or by focusing on surface things and material objects that are more in your control, like food, money, or clothes. Or you could be building strong defense mechanisms and walls to contain the sheer power inside. This just creates frustration and resentment. In response, you can feel weak and defeated, like a meek version of yourself. This might be the case if you had an especially powerful or a dominant parent, or one who was out of control. Or a parent may have been afraid of the intensity and passion they saw in you and tried to control you through rules, restrictions, shaming, or guilt. For you more than others, this would have been incredibly painful or stifling. Even now, you may feel afraid of showing your strength, or could or could be rebelling as an adult, either consciously or unconsciously trying to show you're in control or finally prove that you can do what you want. It's imperative you learn to channel your energy and find a way to truly feel your feelings while knowing that it's okay to have them. Otherwise, containing this amount of pressure can make you sick. Throughout your life, you will be pushed to experience the spectrum of emotions to get you to become intimately aware of them and to realize what you want. You're meant to discover what turns you on and to develop deeply into it. Your path is to embrace your vitality and assert yourself. Over time, you can try to find a healthy balance, allowing yourself to be in full possession of your will instead of being at the mercy of it. You shouldn't change or lessen who you are to make other people happy. I should have got a tissue. So, okay. Including your friends and family. If something doesn't excite you, that's a clear sign for you to move on because it's not for you. You may have to go to the extreme edge to find what truly inspires you. It's important for you to immerse yourself in all things that support your life purpose. You'll feel a deep sense of satisfaction and relief when you have found your way, an inner knowing that the direction in which you are headed has aligned with what is intended. So, I don't remember when I wrote this, on the 14th. So, that explains the whole thing that I was going to talk about today, because with my readings and what I've been getting have been right. Well, for me, have been right. But I started to realize I was getting frustrated because I hate fucking admitting this. But I have to. I always said that I would speak the truth. So I'm getting, it's hard whenever I have to do it to myself, or, for myself. But my mom was very controlling. So I always had relationships and friendships and people in my life that would bring that out. And I would be like, the fuck? Like, why are you trying to control me? Control me with this, control me with that. And then I really had to look at myself this week, and I was like, you know what? It's like, okay, I have control issues. I thought I had dealt with it, or I thought, oh, it's not that bad. And then I'm realizing my messages from what the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, there's been those control issues there of I'm wanting to know, like getting all the information, and then I could tell something was going on, and I'm sure people could too. I'm definitely sure people could too, but the problem, okay, the problem is people are they're saying things which I don't care at this point. I don't care if you think what I'm doing is crazy, or it's, or you think I'm insane. That's fine. The fact I'm realizing why people are this way is because they're used to me being a certain way, because I felt like I had to be a certain way. And I was always too scared to really show who I am. I'd be too much, because that's what it is. Like, people always say I'm too much. I'm, and I repressed that. I repressed it for so long because I'm like, well, damn, maybe I am too much. But then I'm like, fuck it, who cares? Like this shit right here. It's, hell yeah, you know what? I am a lot. Okay, I am a lot, and I realize also, with all of the things that I've gone through from childhood and my teenage years growing up, that I realize now that I probably am very difficult to love because of that. And I realized after putting that video out, what was it? Talking about what happened in my marriage. I'm actually very glad I did that. Whether or not people agree with it or not, I'm very glad I did that, because it made me see a lot more, even more to the story of what was happening. Because I would sit there and ask myself, why? Why am I not getting the support that I need? Why don't I have people in my life that are encouraging me, or like, why don't I have that? Why am I always alone? And then I realized, I looked at the video again and I realized I was making excuses for certain behaviors, saying, oh, well, I understand why they're that way. And that's okay. It's actually a gift to be able to understand and empathize with other people and know, but it's also one thing to use that as a kind of a reason to not take have them take full accountability. And I've realized that from my childhood. And not only that, I realized that even with what was happening in my own family, and with, and I'm not here to talk about other people, because I'm here today talking about me. I mean, it is talking about within my family and childhood, but this is all for me. This is for me. And I was seeing excuses for certain behavior, and this is why things weren't progressing with a lot of people around me. And then I had to ask myself, okay, am I doing this? Like, where in my life am I doing this? Am I, and that was one of the big things was I looked at everything that had happened within meeting him and this whole thing and this whole marriage and all of it, to now and what's going on is it is playing out in the same exact way as my childhood and even in my teenage years. Exactly. Just different face, like a few of them are different faces, different places, but it's playing out exactly in a loop. And then I realized, holy shit. I've been in the same pattern, same cycles my whole life. Literally my whole life. This is why I'm at where I'm at. And it fucked me up. I'm just gonna say it fucked me up in the head because I realized, yeah, it's not right for what happened and what was done. Yeah. But you know what? I also have to take responsibility and accountability for where I'm at now too. Because I'm not a child anymore. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm a grown ass adult. And that's why I kept getting the messages of go back to the root. That's what, and they're right. They were just trying to get me to look at everything. And I'm going to try to explain this, how it worked for me, how I figured it out. Well, so there were more words exchanged between, yeah, him and I. And it was all words that he was sending me of my mom. Exactly. Uh, religion was brought up, money was brought up, putting me down was once again. Um, but it was the same pattern because it's another like hurt people, but there's still no excuse. When when I was a child, because I've talked about this, I was the only daughter, so I had three brothers. So I didn't have any other women to relate to, and it was harder for me to make friends with women because of my mom. And I'm going to say this again too. My parents, I love my parents. I'm not blaming them because I'm also going to say I'm not the victim and I'm not going to blame because at that time they felt that that was the right thing to do or what they should do. And so does it hurt? Yeah. But I'm not there anymore. And I've realized I also can't keep living in the past because I can't change it. Neither can they. My mom's gone. She can't do anything. But my dad can't go back. But The problem is there's been no accountability for how other people have treated me, what they've done. So I've taken upon myself to just grieve a childhood that I didn't have. It felt like, just like I said when I talked about wanting to be a dancer, and then I couldn't even tell my mom because I would get lectured or get spanked for it, or so I just didn't say anything. I would hide myself. I would repress what I actually really wanted. And at that time, it made me feel trapped. It made me feel like there's nothing I could do. Because as a child, there was nothing I could do. There really wasn't. And we moved a lot. You know, we moved and then we moved back. And then it's been like a weird life cycle of like, I'll finally get a good friend, or I'll finally meet someone I really like, or but they're distant. Like there's distance, or they move, or I have to move. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? Uh, it so when we moved to Arizona and my parents, they started drinking, because they stopped drinking for 16 years. They started drinking again, which is fine. Like that's what they want to do, fine. And then I'll never forget, like I've talked about this before, my mom came home and she had got a tattoo. And I was like, confused, felt kind of betrayed because it was like they taught us a certain way, like you don't do these things, you go to hell, and stuffed it down on us. And whether we wanted to believe it or not, or whether or not we had the choice to even take it, or whatever it was, like in our reality or not, you know what I mean? So it's not like I had a problem with my mom drinking or having a tattoo. It was just there was no communication on what was going on. So I was like, what? And I'm thinking, oh shit, why did you just do that? You're gonna go to fucking hell. Like I'm just saying, like I'm a child, like I'm still a child. I'm still I think like 8 or 9. I think it was 9. And I'm like, you're gonna go to hell now. Like because that's what was just, so it made me very confused. I felt betrayed, like, really, you're gonna go do this when you were this way? And it very confused me because I knew my mom was just being herself at this point, because they were being the other way, if that makes sense. They were now showing who they really were, which I actually ended up loving more later on than what happened in my childhood. But there was still issues going on. Um, there was many instances, even with bullying. I was bullied um, here in Oklahoma even before I moved. I was bullied by both men and like girls and boys. And I was actually bullied all through school, actually. And once I became, what is it? What, puberty? Yeah, okay, puberty. puberty or whatever, like whenever I was 14, so 13, 14, 15, 16, it was a different kind of bullying. It was I started growing into my own like me, like looks, but I'm not saying looks are everything. I'm just saying like I was looking more attractive than I did when I was a child, I guess. I don't know, but I just yeah, it's then I started getting more of it sent that way, like towards how I look or the jealousy kind of thing there. But I see it now because my mom switched during that time too and would make comments to me about how because I would, I would look at myself in the mirror and get ready and be like, oh, I look so good today, or I'm this, and it's just like, you're really conceited, you're full of it. And I'm just like, but then she would go around and flip it later on and be like, oh, my daughter's so beautiful and I'm so lucky and this and that. And it would confuse me because I'm like, well, whenever I tell myself I'm beautiful or good looking, you put it down. And so that went into relationships with women because my mom would ingrain it in me that you can't trust women. Um, Women are snakes. Women are jealous. Women are this and that. And I wouldn't really see that with a lot of women, but I just was, you're supposed to trust the people that are close to you, right? That the people that are close to you supporting you kind of like trust them or you hope they're giving you the best judgment, right? And I was in the High Steppers, and even though I loved what I was doing, I loved dancing, I loved it. I was in a group of girls that clearly didn't accept me or want to get to know me. But I'm starting to see now that maybe I was feeling that about myself. And so that's when I got back. And then I really sat there and thought, the relationships that I would have. I remember, okay, so hold on. Let me not get there yet. I would then tell my mom and cry to my mom because I didn't want to go to these events with these girls because I didn't want to. I was like, I try to talk to them or I try and I feel like I get a reject or I feel like pushed down. And I would cry to my mom. I'm like, please don't make me go. Please don't make me go to these things because I don't want to go. And she would make me go anyways. And it made me feel like I had to go to things that I didn't want to go to. And I get it. My parents were instilling things like you can't just quit. You got to find something that you really do, which is right. I do believe that. But when it came to things that I didn't want to do, it was still no, you can't quit. No, you shouldn't just which there's going to be times in life too you don't want to do, but you gotta do it. So I didn't want to deal with it, I guess. I just didn't want to, like, oh, if I'm gonna be here, then I'm not gonna try, or I'm not gonna see what I'm kind of getting here. But then realize when I got injured, I realized there was something going on with my back. I cried to my parents about it. There was also, I knew chemically there was something going on. I knew after I started my first cycle as a woman, something was going on in my brain. I knew something, I was not who I was as a child. I knew something was going on. I didn't know I had depression. I didn't know that was anxiety. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know. And when I would try to bring these up, it was like, oh, you're hypochondriac. Oh, that just runs in the family. Then I would be crying because I would be in pain. I would have horrible, horrible cramps. Horrible. But it, like, my back, there would be times I couldn't even walk. And so I would be crawling in my parents' room, and I'd wake my mom up, and I'm just like bawling, crying, and I'm telling them something's wrong. And they take me to the doctor one time. I think I went to chiropractor a few times, but I got x-rays done, and of course the x-rays didn't show anything. So in my head, I knew, great, nothing showed up. So they're not going to believe me. And that's what happened. I would still be crying and like, something's wrong, something's wrong. Well, the x-rays showed nothing. Well, something's wrong. And then I even tried for years to find out what was wrong, and doctors would turn me down, didn't care to find out, thought I just wanted pain medication when I didn't even ask for it. I just said, I just want to know what the fuck's going on because there's something wrong. And it took 7 years so I could get an MRI to show that I was right. And it made me angry. And during that time, when I was a teenager, I was going through all that, and I felt like, I couldn't dance anymore because of the pain and the feeling of rejection. It just, I feel like I tried to call out for help for my parents many times, and it wasn't received. And so I got more drastic with it. And that's when Nicole came in. She's like, well, uh, you could come live with me, because she actually came down and visited, and she saw some of the things that was going on. So it wasn't just in my head. She also can contest to, there were things, when we were having money, my parents were having money problems, and they would kind of put it on us, like it was us doing it. And and you should just be grateful because we gave you this. So, but the emotions weren't there. The love wasn't there. And I'm just going to tell this story, even though it's me and Nicole laugh about it now, but it was really fucked up when it happened. And she came down here because my parents were struggling with money, but my mom had an impulsive, like, she would go buy herself a lot of things. She would go buy a bunch of makeup, bunch of clothes, bunch of whatever. And then there wasn't a lot of food at the house. So it was to the point like her mom had to call in food for us to eat. But not only that, I like went to the bathroom and there's no toilet paper. Okay, there's no toilet paper. So there's no toilet paper in the house. So at this point, I'm like, really? And my mom comes in. I don't know if my dad was there or not, but my mom comes in, immediately walks in the house. I try to talk to her. She doesn't. She just keeps going and she goes in the room and she locks the door. And I saw that she was carrying like a new phone. They just bought some more stuff. And I'm sitting there like, you're, we need more food. We don't have any toilet paper and you're coming in with a new, and I was banging on the door and I was like, Mom, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And then she's like, not right now. And I'm not. And I just started crying. I was like, I can't believe you would buy these things and we don't even have toilet paper. Because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because Nicole was there and she had to see all of that. But then whenever I talk about all of this, I get told I twisted my reality. And that's not really what happened. And that's another fucked up, fucked up. So at this point, no talks were going through. So I took drastic measures and I said, you know what? If you don't let me go and live with Nicole, I'm going to kill myself. I mean, of course, I wasn't going to kill myself, but I didn't know what else to do. Because I tried and it wasn't, there was no, and then I had to be mean. I had to be mean because that was for some reason, that was the only way to get through to them whenever I was mean. And I don't like being mean. And it made me feel even worse. Like, then my mom's crying about me leaving when all I wanted was for her to fucking show me that, anyways. And then whenever my dad dropped me off to the airport, when he hugs me, he's like sitting there breaking down. And I almost didn't go. I almost didn't go. And I sat there and was just thinking, like, where was this? Where was this when I needed it? You're doing this now after I leave. And so I go and I move. I go live in Nicole and I'm still sad and depressed. I'm like crying every night. And I don't really talk to Nicole much about what was going on because I didn't want her to feel bombarded with it, or I didn't want to put that on her. And I'm realizing now that that's one of that's been a big problem of mine is I feel like I'm just burdened if I come out to talk about these kind of things. Like people only want me to be positive and happy, and but when I want to talk about these kind of things and the hurt and what I'm going through and struggling, I get pushback bad, or people really do tell me that um to stop doing that. And and then the deal was I had to make good grades to stay there. But of course, I didn't make good grades because I'm depressed. I'm sad. At that time, it's like what I needed the most was fucking help. I needed support and I needed help. And it wasn't there. Like, I really did need it. Like, and so I had to move back. Now I'm back in this place. And then I met somebody in Arizona and we were dating and it became long distance. And I'll admit, with that relationship, I fucked up. I fucked that one up because we were going through similar things, and he actually would talk to me. He actually wanted me to talk about what was going on with me and all of that because there was issues with a friend, like one of Nicole's friends, and and then we stopped talking because I know I understand why she was upset. Like she felt betrayed because I went back to live with my parents, but I didn't have a choice. My parents were making me. Like they told me I wasn't going. And I didn't know how to tell Nicole this because I didn't I knew it was gonna suck. And so I called that her one of her good friends, which I didn't like her. I always knew, yeah, I just either way. And I asked her, I said, hey, I'm coming to you first to ask for advice. Like, what do you think I should do? How I should go by this? And to tell her, I said, please don't tell her anything yet. Cause I said, I wanted to get advice from you, from someone else, so I could go and then go and tell her myself. And then what happened, I guess, was she was already on like put me on speaker. And I guess she was already with Nicole. And Nicole got mad when all I was trying to do was just get advice. But we've hashed this out. It's not, but she didn't talk to me for like a year and a half. And so not only did I lose her during that time, I lost like everything. I felt like. So I only had my boyfriend at the time. And so he would talk to me, and the problem was then relied on the other people that came into my life afterwards. When I went to school, they're like, I would talk about it, like, yeah, I'm, with so and so, he was there, and and then they would be like, well, that's not going to work. Like, what do you mean? That's not gonna work. It's gonna work. They're like, well, they live there and you live here. That never works out. And I was, they would just say things. And then I'm just thinking, no, 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 I'm not listening to that. And then it would just be like, they would go, well, how do you know they're not doing anything with other people? They're not going to tell you. And plus, you're not there, so you don't know. And so eventually, I allowed these people to see through my fucking head and put fears and doubts and hesitation, which led into self-fulfilling prophecy to where I was like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen. So I need to, uh, you know, I pushed him away. I did that. And I mean, me and him, I've apologized to him a long time ago, and he knows this. Like, I took accountability for it. I took accountability a long time ago for what I've done, but then relied on because I hurt him. He then hurt me back. Hurt people. And then I realized with every relationship I've had my whole life, it's been the same thing. Maybe differently, but it's been the same thing. That it's been because I didn't fully let go of my childhood and my teenage years. That I always sat there and I stayed with people longer than I should have, whether that's friends, family, lovers, especially lovers. I stayed with people for way too fucking long because I honestly feel like there was no other way or no other, oh, like, this is the best it's going to get, or, just negative self talk. I went through so much abuse and that I abused myself. I self sabotaged. I abused. When I mean abused, I mean there would be times where my mom, like I said, my mom talked shit about her body all the time, and then it led on to me. So I would pick myself apart. And so there'd be times where I wouldn't eat. I would starve myself. I wouldn't eat so I could lose weight, or or I would be like, if I overindulged one night or for a few days, I'd be like, well, I shouldn't have done that. So now I'm not going to eat, or now I'm going to like really strictly barely eat for a few days. So then that's going to balance it out, which really that's not, but that's what I did. And the negative self talk and always feeling trapped. Or I'd be in a situation and be like, well, how the fuck did I get here? And how the fuck do I get out? Because then it would always be like limitations or restrictions were always put on me. But guess what? Guess what happened in my childhood? Restricted, inhibited, responsibilities were put on me way early on. So that led to me rebelling on responsibilities or things that I really should be doing now. But I rebel with those things because I was put on that too early in my life. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to deal with that because I dealt with that for so long. I don't why would I want to deal with that? And I'm not realizing some fucked up shit. And I had shame and guilt for so long over these things because I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this? Why can't I just do that? Why is that so hard for me? What the fuck is wrong with me? But nothing was wrong with me. It was just as a child, I would sit there and I would be confused because I maybe had done something, but it wasn't communicated properly. So I thought there was something wrong with me. There obviously got to be something wrong with me. Was always, oh, you can do this. Go ahead and do it. You can do it. And I, for a long time, hid myself, repressed myself. And I thought, oh, I'm being myself. I'm showing who I am. No, I wasn't. I'm realizing I have been for the last year and a half. Like it's been a cycle of change and moving away from that. But I'm realizing all that time I thought I was, but I wasn't. And everybody around me was showing that too. Because it I wouldn't understand whenever I would do something that was me, I would get like people being like, why are you being like that? Why are you doing that? Or why are you talking like that? Or why? And then I'd be like, what do you mean? Like I the this is me. And they'd be like, I no, no, it's not. I don't I've never seen you do that, or I've never seen you just do that. And I'm like, you're crazy. And but the thing is because I took the mask off and did something, and then everybody else was like, the fuck? And then I took it as a defense of, you know, and really, I wasn't showing who I was. I wasn't being me for real for a long time. I was always too scared or would undervalue myself, especially with other people. Whenever I got injured, I didn't know what I wanted to do after that. I was like, well, I don't know what would make me feel like that ever again. And I felt lost, confused, and so external validation. So I try to find it externally, whether that was like money, food, clothes, things, because I thought, oh, this, yeah, it's gonna make me feel better. Because you get some kind of little like high of it, but it's not. But then I'd sit there and be like, why am I still feeling like this? Because because I never actually I never dealt with my past. I'd always look back in the past, but I never actually fully dealt with it. Like I said, I ran away for a long time. But you can't run away. It'll catch up to you till you fully deal with it. And the healing process, it takes time. It's not something you can do quick. It's not something you can do. And that's where the instant gratification would come from with me is my parents did the instant gratification. They do this. You do certain things that then they're happy. And then it's like, oh, okay, so if I do this or if I do that, then I know what makes certain people happy. And so that led me into doing behaviors like that in relationships as well. And then I wonder why I'm in the same fucking thing in my whole life is because I'm half the fucking problem. But you know what? I don't shame myself or guilt myself for it because it was not my fault. None of that was my fault that happened. And honestly, it shouldn't have happened. And it's okay. It's okay to feel those feelings. I get tired of people sitting there saying that you shouldn't feel those, that you shouldn't, if you want to throw yourself a pity party, go ahead, but don't sit there too long, just understand that you're not the victim, but don't blame either. Like once you're an adult, you have to realize you have to realize you're not there anymore. And that's hard because that's all that's been my life. I don't know anything else. So once again, how could someone do better or know better if they haven't had better or known better? They wouldn't. So I don't blame myself. And I don't, but this is a time where I am finally realizing who I am. And I have to stop the facade to make other people feel better and people please, or uh, I want to go for something, but friends or family don't agree because they are used to doing things their whole life, or they don't believe what I want to do, or they don't believe that's best for me. But what the fuck? Like, people need to realize, like, stop telling people like what's good for them and what's not, because only you know. And for so long, I feel so bad because I fucking love, when I love, I fucking love. Like, I love a lot more than most people do. And I give a lot more, but I may also take a lot more as well. And I realize now from my childhood and growing up that, man, maybe I am hard to love because of all of that. But I don't feel like I am, though. I feel like because of that, I push to love more. I push to do that. But whenever I have to push away from something or make a decision that's for me, that's what's hard, because I'm thinking about me for once and not other people. And so it is hard for me to get that pushback, or the people telling me I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm doing the wrong thing. You should rethink what you're doing. And that's what I'm learning too, is shit, maybe I do make the wrong choice or decision, or maybe I'm not. But how the fuck am I supposed to know if I don't go for what I actually want? Because everybody else is telling me that I'm making a mistake. I'm fucking up. I'm I shouldn't be doing that. So they want me to do what they want that's going to make them happy or feel a certain type of way when they're not even living my life. And now I know why I'm here. I truly know now why I'm here. I'm here to help people get out of that, because it is hard. It's not easy. Life isn't easy. I'm having to learn that I'm a I'm a mirror. I'm a fucking mirror for every person that comes in my life. So when there's something going on and I'm like, what the fuck? I have to check in with myself because but sometimes too, that doesn't always mean that there's something wrong with me, if that makes sense. I just mirror people. So people will see what they need fixing on or what's going on inside with them or see a part of themselves. So I'm also someone who gives people ego deaths. So I help people do that because I'm always going through that. I'm always going through transformation. So I'm always like becoming something different. I'm always like having another awakening or breakthrough. So I'm always like going, and so I'm not staying. I don't stay the same, and uh, yeah, I it's just who I am. Like, and how boring. Who wants to stay the same? How fucking boring is that? Like, fuck. Maybe some people want that, but you know, I, I'm here to help people do that because of everything I've gone through. But the whole reason and spiel for all of this of why I wanted to wear my wedding dress and all of that is I sat with my inner child because I had to, and I had to. I'm now understanding the whole matriarch, like why I was chosen to be the matriarch, whether that's for a community, for my own family, for other people, because I truly am a mother. I'm not just a mother right now, but I'm a mother. I was always a mother for myself. I had to be that for myself. And not only that, I had to be a father. That's why I balanced the masculine and the feminine. I had to learn to balance both of them. There was always one that was unbalanced. Now I'm learning to balance both because I was chosen to do that. I I chose to do this in this life. And I'm here to give that and be a mother for people. Like give that mother energy or be that for people who didn't have that. So I see all the things that I've had to go through to get to this point. And there's a lot more work that needs to be done and get done, but that's fine. That's everyone. I just know that I was right about for myself that I do believe I have a big purpose here, but I have to stop. I have to stop with the negative self-talk and the external validation because I don't need that. That was never what I wanted anyways. Like even as a child and growing up, I never wanted that. I had to give that to myself. And then I'm realizing I give that to myself and then I can get and receive that from other people. But uh, I sat down with my inner child and I had to grieve, like literally grieve and tell my inner child that it wasn't okay. It wasn't. And that I'm here. I may still not know everything because I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to have all the answers. I don't know everything, but I can be here. I can do my best, just like everybody else. But what I'm not going to do anymore is sit there and talk to myself like that. even if other people want to, but I'm not going to anymore. Because I sit there and I look at my own children and I couldn't even. I do that to everybody else. I treat everybody else with so much love and compassion. And then I sit there and I'm like, why can't I do that for myself? And I had to fully grieve my childhood and my teenager because I wasn't heard, I wasn't seen, and that did psychologically fuck me up for a long time. But I don't believe that we're broken. We can that will always stay broken. I don't believe that. Even through abuse your whole life. I do believe though when you are healing and you've gone through similar patterns and behaviors and abuse or whatever it is, that it's like an addiction. It's so embedded deeply, subconsciously and consciously, that you will fall back at times. You're going to fall back in your old self. You're going to fall back in old habits, but then you will realize it and then you move forward. It's more, I don't see it as a setback. I see it as a breakthrough. You realize, and then you start making the steps to keep going. And I used to like make myself feel bad and shameful, like you should know better, you should have done better. But it's because of how I was talked to and treated. And you know what? Now I'm in charge. I'm the adult. I get to say what I do with my life, who can be in my life. No one gets to have that say. And so I'm not trapped. Yeah, there's highs and lows of life, but it's more finding the balance. That's what I'm learning. Like I'm learning that just like with everybody else. I'm not, you think I have, you think that I have it all figured out? Hell no. Fuck. I would look at other people and think like they looked better, they have it figured out. And then I quickly realized, no, the fuck they don't. And then I'm like, shit, I don't fucking know what I'm doing. Half the time I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just like, all right, yeah, let's do that. Like, but I can't sit there and be indecisive anymore, not balanced. I gotta be an adult. I'll take accountability for my shit. Like, fuck yeah. Like, are you kidding me? I think I wanted to say one more thing because I did write some other stuff. There was what I was writing about um in inferior because there was a lot of like me feeling inferior a lot in my life. I'm like, where the fuck is this? Like, where is all this coming from? And then it stems from childhood, but basically I did some research on this. I don't know why I didn't do research on this, but either way, this is what I found out. Let's see. So yeah, a lot of inferior would be coming from like like other people and where they were at in life, or them getting certain things that was like harder for me to get, and it would make me feel like something was wrong with me. Like obviously something's wrong with me if I can't get there or I can't get that, or that's how, you know what I mean? Okay, so that's one of them I wrote down. Um, I put shutting down out of guilt, shame, embarrassment, or inward of defeat, which made me feel responsible for other people's shortcomings and failures, which then I would seek external validation and avoid risks or do really dangerous risks, like impulsive, you know what I mean? Being sensitive to compliments or criticism. I can take criticism, but yes, that was perfectionism. Um, that's Like I would tell myself if I got something like good, I'd be like, oh, well, I only got that because no one else went for it. So that right there, undervalue. Okay, so and like being inferior or dealing with inferior, I can't say the word, but it's leads to eating disorders, negative feelings about body image, which I had plenty of in my life, especially teenager and even as an adult, which can attract narcissistic people to you, because when you go through inferior, like, and what I was just talking about, it acts almost like narcissism, but it's not. It's a switch flip there where you have I forgot what it's called, but the narcissist has the superior complex of it, where the over they don't have negative feeling, over positive or over like I'm the shit, like that, you know what I mean? So me being that way caused a lot of narcissistic people to come in my life. But anyways, the thought of failure can become self-fulfilling, and that's a self-sabotage. Over accommodate, self-doubt, and then there's a thing called primary inferiority. It starts early in childhood, when one child is constantly reminded of not being adequate or good enough, which would make a child feel helpless, vulnerable, and anxious, developing broken self-esteem with poor confidence, which affects all relationships in life. So poor eating, sleeping habits, people pleasing, social phobias, and inability to carry out responsibilities, high and unrealistic expectations for oneself, passive aggressive in relationships, constant scrutiny in relationships, feeling unworthy, aggressiveness when feeling disrespected by others, fear of making mistakes, aka perfectionism. And also this can develop by either a learning disability or physical limitation that was either never diagnosed or addressed properly, being bullied for those limitations, which deeply embedded. Oh, I said, yeah. Oh, that's why I refer myself. So being bullied for those limitations that I just said, which deeply embedded my experience and reinforced it. Being outcasted made me feel flawed and did I put defective or defeated? Either way, both. So I talk about that, where I would go and say, hey, about my physical limitation, it was not diagnosed or properly addressed. It fucked me up for a long time. It made me defensive. It made me like I had to defend myself or prove things to other people, or you know what I mean? So I think that there's way more I want to talk about here, but I know I need to get off of here. But I just believe either way. People that are just starting this or going through this, I believe either way, you're not broken. You can get through these things. You know, I do believe support is vital. You have to have the right supportive, positive people in your life. I'm trying to figure out how to get that. Like in my own life, I'm not saying I don't have people, but I have very, very, very few limited people. But I'm also realizing the things I need to continue to work on, which is fine. I understand that there's times I can be a student, but I'm also going to be a teacher. So that's important with spirituality. It's very important. I see spirituality as, excuse me, gosh, somebody's not only talk right now. Spirituality I see as both. You got to be a student and you got to be a teacher. You can't just be a teacher and be like, okay, I know everything, and because we don't know everything. None of us fucking know everything. What the fuck? either way, and the other thing with spirituality is just because you may think you don't have um as many gifts or as talented as some people are, maybe on TikTok or whatever the fuck, even with me. I don't want people to think that you don't have abilities or you don't have gifts because you don't have what other people are showing or what they have. The thing is you have your own. You got to find them. You got to find them, and yours is going to be different because you are different. You're not like anybody else. Yours are going to be different. So you don't want what everybody else has, right? Hopefully, but you don't want what everybody is doing or has, you know? And the biggest thing about spirituality that I definitely feel like needs to be talked about more is the way that I feel like is like clicks, is, you know, it feels like religion almost. There's certain cliques in there, and there's certain, well, you're not spiritual unless you go through healing and you go through this and you do that, and you've got this going on and that going on. And here's the thing, no, I don't believe that. I feel like if somebody wants to be spiritual and they haven't healed, let them be spiritual. Same thing with like religion, you know, they have their own different like religions. That's fine, whatever you want to, you do you. That's fine. But I feel like we need to stop doing the oh, you're only accepted if you do this or that, or you know, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if that's hitting the mark yet, but it's it's more of we need to accept everybody, whether they've healed or they haven't healed, or whether they're in the process or been in through the process, just starting it, that we got to start accepting and loving people, even if they haven't done it and they don't want to either, because they're living their life. And it is hard to be around people who want to stay there. But you know what? That's okay. You know, as long as they're not bringing you down, as long as they're not affecting you, you can still love that person. Yeah, it's going to be different. And yeah, it's not going to be the same because you're changing, you're growing and transforming. But take that as you can also change and transform that friendship or relationship or whatever, and take it as you can now have a newer, different relationship now, and nothing has to stay the same, and that's hard. Like, you know, when you're comfortable, because certain things kept me safe, like some material wise. You know, I have parents. That's why I would feel so safe with certain things and hold on to people, and because it made me feel safe. But in reality, it hurt me even more because even though it made me feel safe, it hurt me more to keep it what was hurting me, if that makes sense. So it's okay. I get it, and it's it's process, and I'm learning just like everybody else. And give yourself grace and give yourself time, and it's okay to not be okay. Really, truly, it's not. It's okay to be okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have whatever feelings you want to have. But let's just not keep playing in the victim and blame. And it's okay to not know either. Trust the things that you get shown to you, and, you know, sit down with it sometimes. You know, I get really, sometimes when I don't want to think about something or I get really anxious, I start doing a lot of stuff. That can also be control. You want to control certain things. I'm like, oh, I can control this, so I'm going to do this real quick. Whenever I'm like, I can't control what's happening in my head or something else, so I'm find other ways to control things. If that makes sense. Um, but spirit's like telling me, like what happened this last month was, it's like getting on a boat, going out in the ocean or going out in a, you know, going out ocean or lake, and then it's clear, but then all of a sudden It's like fog just comes around you all over. And then you just like, you don't know, you don't know which way's back. So you're like, and so that's where I was. I was just like, but my control and my overanalyze, I'll sit there and go, okay, what the fuck do I, okay, what am I gonna do? And so I start running through everything like, okay, and they're just telling me sometimes when that happens, you just sit your ass down and just wait. Because eventually things will clear, right? It's not gonna stay that way forever. But they said sometimes you need to sit your ass down. Because sometimes I don't sit my ass down. Sometimes I'm like, I can be either too impulsive or just fucking rebel. And wonder why I'm in certain situations. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's okay to sit down, sit with yourself. I'm learning that now because I used to not do that. I used to just like do too much. Now I actually sit down with myself and I actually feel what's going on. But that may not work for everyone. I know everything looks differently for everyone. You got to find what works for you and you got to actually go through different process and steps. Like you can't just keep doing the same thing, get a different reaction or different, outcome. That's not how it works. You gotta try different things. And you can't always like get it like that either. It takes time. Every good thing takes time. Takes time. You gotta do everything faster than everybody else. Or, more over the top. But I am over the top sometimes. That's okay. That's just who I am. I like being, I like being the like dramatic, what is it? This. I love it. It's like also me being like a little girl, and like dressing up, just playing with my inner child. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel pretty. It just makes me feel like a woman. So, yeah. Either way, I still have more I want to talk about this, but it is really late, so I have to go. But thank you once again. I love every single one of you guys that watch my videos. I hope I hope I'm helping you guys in some form of way. Either way, this is helping me. And I'm rooting for you all, honestly, really am, because I'm even rooting for myself. It gets hard sometimes. It really does. It fucking does. But hey, it's life, right? It'd be boring if it was always the same. Anyways, love you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend because tomorrow's Monday, isn't it? Yeah.